how to change things when change is hard. And I think that it's probably safe to make a bet that several of you have made New Year's resolutions a few days ago, and I wonder how you're doing with it. Are you finding it difficult? Have some of you already lost your resolve on your resolutions? If you have, you don't need to worry. Change is hard, and lots of people find it difficult to live differently. But my hope for you is that this series will help point a way forward. So let's get started. How do you change when change is hard? A few years ago, my sister handed me this book, Switch, How to Change Things When Change is Hard, by Chip and Dan Heath. My sister has always had an issue with change. Like many people, she has a list of things she'd like to change in herself. Her eating habits, her sleeping habits, her relationship habits. The list goes on and on. But when it comes down to it, sometimes it seems like nothing ever changes. So she saw this book, read it, and then told everybody in the family, you have to read this too. That's when everything changed for me as well. It started like this. One Saturday in 2000, some unsuspecting moviegoers showed up at a suburban theater in Chicago to catch a 1:05 matinee of Mel Gibson's movie, Payback. They were handed a soda and a free bucket of popcorn and were asked to stick around after the movie to answer a few questions about the concession stand. These movie fans were unwitting participants in a study of irrational behavior. The popcorn was terrible. It was so bad it squeaked when you ate it, and also people were given enormous buckets of it. Some had a medium and others a large, but everyone got so much they would never be able to finish it. Researchers had measured the buckets before and after the movie, and this is what they found. People with the large buckets ate 53% more popcorn than the people with the medium size. That's the equivalent of 173 more calories, 21 more times going into that large bucket. The best part, though, was that people refused to believe the results. The researchers told them how larger buckets meant people would eat more food, and the people scoffed. They said, things like that don't trick me, or I'm pretty good at knowing when I'm full. Yet, facts are facts. Bigger buckets meant eating more food. So how do you change when popcorn, or how much popcorn a person eats? One might say the problem is motivation, or a person's reasonableness. But that's making a mountain out of a molehill. The solution is simple. If you want people to eat less popcorn, give them smaller buckets. That's how the book started, and that's how my sister and I started to see change in our own lives. Throughout this sermon series, I'll be sharing stories about change. Sometimes change for individuals, sometimes organizations or society, but always change for good. You may want to help a friend beat a gambling addiction, or have a team at work be more frugal, or encourage more neighbors to bike to work. Whatever change you want to see comes down to this. Can you get people to start behaving in a new way? Yet change seems to be so difficult. Why is it that we can't seem to just do what we know in our heads we want to do? The Apostle Paul put it this way, I do not understand my own actions. For I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. In Switch, they talk about this crazy invention, Clocky, an alarm clock with wheels. When it goes off, it rolls off your nightstand and zips around the room until you catch it and shut it off. It guarantees you will not hit the snooze button and fall back asleep. Clocky costs $50. It's also sold over 35,000 units, so someone became a millionaire by making an alarm clock that runs away from you. And I have to ask, Why in the world would someone pay $50 to wake up instead of just getting up? They say it's because we humans are seemingly insane. We want one thing, and yet we do another. We want to wake up for an airplane flight, but we sleep in late. We want to lose weight, but we eat junk food. In psychology, they actually discovered there are two systems at work within our brains. One is the emotional side. It feels pain and pleasure, while the other, the rational side, deliberates, analyzes, and looks to the future. More recently, people have called these sides the planner and the doer, but I like this analogy better. John Haidt calls our emotional side an elephant, and our rational side its rider. Perched atop the elephant, the rider holds the reins and seems to be the leader. But the rider's control is precarious because the rider is a small person relative to the elephant. Anytime the 6-ton elephant and the rider disagree, guess who wins? The rider is going to lose. I remember having trumpet lessons in 4th grade. I hated the class so much that one day I just stopped showing up. Despite not attending for the entire 3rd quarter, I still got a B. But my rider and elephant, they felt very differently about the value of knowing how to play trumpet. Have you ever procrastinated? Failed to quit smoking? Refused to stand up to a bully? These struggles are between an elephant looking for a quick payoff and a rider who can think long term. So with this analogy firmly in place, hear this. Changes often fail because the rider simply can't keep the elephant on the road long enough to reach the destination. I think that's what makes Abraham's story so compelling. God tells this man to head out from his home and go where the Lord tells him to go. Abraham doesn't say, wait, I need to know the destination before I can begin this journey. He doesn't analyze the situation, weighing the pros and cons of packing up everything to head 1,000 miles from home. He just goes, and he keeps going. The changes in Abraham's life just keep piling up, from a new home to new children in the home, and finally to a new promise that says Abraham will be the source of blessing for the whole world as the father of many people, and eventually of Jesus Christ. Somehow, despite all those changes, Abraham manages to keep the rider and the elephant in balance. He keeps the goal ahead of him and follows it through to radical changes in his life that had rippled down to the major religions of the world. That is a serious amount of tenacity. And it makes sense to start here as we explore how we can bring changes into our own lives, whether it's for you or for the people around you. So here are the steps that we'll explore over the coming weeks. 1, how to direct the rider. 2, how to motivate the elephant. And 3, how to shape the path to make change permanent. I want to leave you with one last story to encourage you as we consider how to make change. It's a story of a man who didn't have much power or influence, but he believed in a powerful vision for the future. The man's name is Donald Berwick, and he is a doctor and CEO of what is called the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. This group did plenty of research and discovered that many patients in hospitals were not receiving appropriate care within a specified time. This is what's known as a defect rate, and it was as high as 1 in 10 at hospitals. This meant that tens of thousands of patients were dying unnecessarily from situations like people giving antibiotics inconsistently, or not elevating a patient's head when they are on a ventilator. Berwick had a daunting task in front of him. He couldn't force hospitals to change their routines, and yet his research said thousands of lives could be saved from simple procedural changes. So here's what Dr. Donald Berwick did. At a large industry convention for hospital administrators, he took the stage and said, "I think we should save 100,000 lives, and we should do it by June 14th, 18 months from now." Of course, the hospital administrators agreed with the goal, but how to achieve it seemed impossible. Berwick asked hospital CEOs to sign on to the campaign, and they would receive research, step-by-step instruction guides, and training. They would set up conference calls for people to share struggles and successes. And soon enough, when a few hospitals had seen dramatic results from minor changes, they became mentors to others. 18 months later, on June 14th, Dr. Berwick again stood before a group of hospital administrators to announce the results. With a tiny team of people, they were able to save lives with only signatures on a piece of paper. They had saved an estimated 122,300 lives. And the new procedures would continue to save lives into the future. The crowd was absolutely stunned. Berwick's vision was fulfilled, a vision where mothers and fathers are at graduations and weddings they would have otherwise missed. Grandchildren would know grandparents they may have otherwise never known. Vacations would be taken, work completed, books read, symphonies heard, and gardens tended that without their work would have only been beds of weeds. Instead of death, there was life. And that's the vision I propose to you today. I propose we discern how to make change in our lives even when change is difficult. I propose we journey like Abraham to a land we do not yet know, but do it trusting in a God who can make all things possible. Let's work for change that brings life to ourselves and to those around us. Amen?
Amen.
Amen.